Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody, and you're very welcome to this afternoon's masterclass, where unfortunately we can't welcome you into the National Concert Hall, but we can certainly do the next best thing by bringing the National Concert Hall to wherever you may be. And we're delighted to present this viola masterclass with one of Ireland's top and most versatile musicians, Lisa Dowdall. Lisa, you're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
Lisa was born in Dublin and she's one of Ireland's most innovative, versatile musicians. Alongside a teaching career at the Royal Irish Academy of Music, Lisa also enjoys an extensive career of diverse music making in chamber ensembles. She's a member of the Crash Ensemble and has collaborated with artists such as Dawn Upshaw, Irla O'Linnard, Sam Amadon, Gavin Friday, and has premiered many works written specifically for the Crash Ensemble. Lisa has performed internationally at many festivals, including the Edinburgh Festival, Canberra International Music Festival, Cannes Marathon, the Huddersfield International Contemporary Music Festival, and many more. She's also a very active Baroque violist and is a member of the Spackling Band, has worked and performed with the Irish Baroque Orchestra, Sestina, Resurgam, the Cork Baroque Orchestra, and many leading Baroque musicians. Lisa also plays the viola d'amore and is particularly interested in using old instruments to play contemporary works. Lisa, we're delighted to have you with us and thank you so much for undertaking this masterclass today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
This is the second in the series of National Concert Hall July Masterclasses, where we aim to bring the best Irish musicians and educators to work with some of Ireland's most promising up-and-coming students. And today we're delighted to have three such students to work with Lisa over the course of the afternoon. First up, we're going to have Lucy Varney. Lucy is a 19-year-old violist and violinist from Dublin. She began studying the viola just last September with Rosalind Ventris at the Royal Irish Academy of Music. And she has just completed a diploma in music teaching and performance. And she's looking forward to going into second year of the Bachelor in Music Performance at the Royal Irish Academy of Music in September. Lucy is going to play the Courante from Bach's first cello suite. Lucy, you're very, very welcome. And we hope that you enjoy today's session.
Thanks very much.
I'm going to leave the two of you to it. And I'd like to remind people that those watching on YouTube can submit comments via YouTube or questions. And we will be holding a Q&A session at approximately 4:30 p.m. where Lisa will be very happy to answer any question that you may have arising out of this afternoon's masterclass. You're both very welcome. We look forward to the session and I will see you shortly, but I'll leave you to get on with the masterclass. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Lucy, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for, I was going to say coming today, but I know we're all in our own homes. It is really, it's hard to come and do a masterclass anyway, and to do one online, it's new for all of us. You're going to start off by giving us a bit of a performance of the Courante, is that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. So take your time and start whenever you like. I would clap, but it might sound strange. Just, I know you can only hear me at the moment. Absolutely gorgeous. So, I am guessing you're playing from the same edition as me. This one, Peter?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you know about the different editions and the different choices we have to make with Bach when it comes to what notes we want, more the bowings, but have you thought much about the different editions?
A bit, yeah. I've looked a bit at the Anna Magdalena manuscript and kind of used her bowings and my own to kind of overall decide, I suppose.
Yeah, we're on totally the same page because that's exactly what I did. My mum she plays cello and she has all the different manuscripts. I think it's Varney who did them. So I got them out and I picked and chose what I liked most. So yes, and this edition actually mainly goes with Anna Magdalena Bach's bowings, which is great. So do you know much about the suite of dances, what types of dances each one of them is within this suite? So we have a prelude and then we have 5 dances. We have the allemande, the courante, the sarabande, the minuets, and then the gigue. The courante, each one is from a different place in Europe, which is kind of nice. It's like a little travelling. The courante is a French dance. And it can also be Italian, but this is a French. And courante means running in French, which makes us think that it needs to be really fast, but I prefer to think of it more as flowing. So to get that feeling of flowing, I like to take out beats. So I like to think in long bars, phrasing. Could you play just the beginning for me, please, with not giving any bars a downbeat? So just as if it's like a river going along and there's no landing points. Just see if you can give it a go to go all the way for 4 bars without giving anything, any kind of beat.
Okay, yeah.
Very nice. So what you might notice is that some notes naturally stick out where we don't want them to. Sometimes we do want them, but we want to make sure that what we're doing technically actually also matches what we want to do musically. So in this courante, and I was practicing this, going, how can I make it sound like it is in my head? And what I was finding difficult was the down bows were coming out so much. And it was bum 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 ba da dee da dee da dee da da, and it was too many beats. So what I tried to do was to only give the first downbeat. So we've got an upbeat, the downbeat of the first bar. Bum 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 ba da 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 dee dum dum da 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 dum. So just to give bars 1 and 3 something, and then the rest is either coming away or going towards the next beat.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to have a go of that?
Yeah.
Great, so I'm still getting a little bit on the downbeats of bar 2 and 4. And
yeah.
have you thought much about the hierarchy of beats or the hierarchy of bars?
I suppose not too much.
You already know the answers, I'm sure, but if we have a bar of 4/4, what's the main beat in that bar?
1.
Brilliant.
2.
And what's the next main beat?
3.
3. And then the next one?
2.
And then the next one?
4.
Brilliant. So we can actually do that over bar phrases. So we can give something on the first one, and then a little bit less on the third one, and then almost nothing on second and fourth. So if we try a kind of do you see how I almost made them into each 2 bars into 1 bar?
Yeah.
Yeah? And it elongates the whole thing, and it can end up feeling like it's flowing more than it's got points where we meet. Do you want to have a go at that? Now, I know I played it a bit faster than you. I generally play my courantes thinking of bars in one. So I take away the 1, 2, 3, and I just go bum 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 ba da 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 bum bum ba da bum 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 ba da da bum bum. You don't have to play it faster, because I know it's hard when you haven't practiced something faster to then just do it in front of everyone. But maybe keep your same speed, but think in bars of one, and give me the first bar and the third bar, and almost diminuendo into the second and fourth bar.
Okay, yeah.
Really nice. Okay, so now what you're doing, which is brilliant, is you're following my directions, which thank you so much for doing. What I would love for you to do is internalize it and now play as if you'd written this piece. So we're not thinking, oh, Bach, and it's so scary and everyone knows it. Just pretend you wrote this piece and you're just having a go of it.
Yeah.
Lovely. And what we're seeing now is more of your ideas coming out. And I quite often mess around with my Bach, so I call it noodling. So I'll just literally playing it wrong, but messing. And it gives me the feeling of like, okay, well, I've already done it kind of wrong, and I liked that, so maybe I'll do a bit more of what's on the page and see if any of my ideas come through. So let's I'm going to leave you with that information of the hierarchy of the beats and the bars, and we'll keep going so we can come up with a few other little points. So let's go from the beginning once more, and I'll wave my hand when I want you to stop. It'll probably be about 8 or 12 bars I'll ask you for.
Okay.
Lovely, really nice. Just a little point, and this applies to Baroque, classical, a lot of music this applies to. We quite often want to go to the last note. So where we're just at there going into bar 8. So we're at the end of the phrase. So I'll play bar 7 and 8. And we quite generally want to go, but that's not how we'd sing it. Bum, 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 bum. We kind of lighten it up. So we have to remember that even though we're going to that point, it's going to come away once we get there. And yeah, that happens for all of these cadences. When we actually get to the note we're expecting, we don't need to play it as much. Yeah?
Yeah.
For the next bit, it feels a little bit more, there's a lot more going on. Yeah? In bowing wise, we're not maybe doing the ba-da-da, ba-da-da, we're going we can end up feeling like it's a little bit too hectic by going giving each new idea something. But instead what we want to do again is to think about the whole line. So let's just play into the upbeat into 9 as if there's a few nice little points to bring out, but everything else is just getting us from A to B.
Yeah.
Yeah, so upbeat into 9. Really nice, and I loved your crescendo through bars 14 and 15. That was really, really nice. That felt to me like I could stay with you on the train. Yeah?
Yeah.
as performers, we're playing this music so much and we understand it so much and we find things that we find interesting to keep us engaged with it. But for the audience, they may be listening to it for the first time, but they've definitely not listened to it as many times as us. So if we give them too much information, then it can feel a bit hectic and they might get lost. So what we want to do is we want to pick and choose each time we perform it. We pick and choose, this time I'm going to bring out this, and this time I'm going to bring out this. We don't give them everything all at once. Then for 9, 10, 11, around 11, we want to bring out this line of just the A to the G. The other stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah? It's decoration. I always think of like a house. So a house it's bricks and it's got all of the stuff that's holding it up. And then inside the house, when it's all ready and structured, then we start adding decoration. The decoration doesn't need to be there for the house to exist. And it's the same here. Bach has given us a little bit of decoration, but we don't need to make such a big deal of it.
Yeah.
So let's go from the same place again and carry on to the second half without repeat.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. I just have to say something. In 26, I know there's a grace note written there, but and this is just my own feeling, I actually love not having the grace note because then it feels a little bit more tension. So from 25, I prefer that rather than it kind of the grace note softens it. And we can maybe do it on the second time because, of course, all of these suites, they're repeated. A and B is repeated. So Bach we very rarely actually ornament in Bach. Do you know why?
I always just assumed, I don't know, at the time they didn't really use much ornamentation, but
yeah, they actually did use quite a bit of ornamentation, but Bach preferred to write in his own ornamentation.
Okay.
So what we see here are the real note. I call them real notes and then ornaments, you know. We've got both sides all written out, and we as musicians have to try and discover what's an ornament, what could be there without Bach having written it out. And I kind of like the idea of I like these semi-quavers, the idea of them just being ornaments. They don't really mean anything, and we can end up making too much of a meal out of them and losing the structure of the actual piece. So could you play for me from the second half and just enjoy them as little flashy getting from this note to this note?
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Now I really enjoyed that. And I'm going to tell you something that I'm sure you've heard it before. Tension and release in music. So you've probably I've watched about 1 million films, and I particularly love thrillers and stuff like that, and it's like tense, and then release, and then tense, and a good writer for books or filmmaker or composer will know just the amount of tension to then give us release. And with Bach, he always does it through harmony. So with other composers, they might do it in a different way, creating tension in a different way, but with Bach, he uses harmony. So we've got bar 24, I'm going to play from. That's a bit of tension there with the F natural. And then with the D sharp, that's crazy. Yeah?
Yeah.
What we do, and sometimes we get it mixed up the other way around, but with tension, we give it more, and release, we literally release. So we give it tension, give it more, give it more, give it more, and stay with it. And then when we release, we can just relax and let it flow a bit more. Yeah?
Yeah.
So do you want to go from, actually you pick a place before 25 you're comfortable going from, and show me how much drama you can give me in 25, 26.
Okay, yeah.
Really nice. So, and I'm going to say something that this is my own feeling, and as musicians, we try and collect as much information as we can. We learn from as many people as we can, learn from the past, everything. But then at the end, we make up our own minds, and that's why we have our own voice then, and that's why we really do connect to people when we play. For me, when I'm doing tension, I try not to do vibrato, because vibrato gives a release, in my opinion. So if I was going to go, it feels like it's too triumphant, or I've gotten there, rather than it being part of the journey that I'm trying to get through. So, and then release here. Yeah?
Yeah.
So let's go same place from where you went, and we'll go on from there.
Yeah.
Really great. So after the drama, we get really like happy-go-lucky. And then this is really happy. But we know something's coming up. It's not going to stay happy forever. Like this is, that's real tension. And then release. Sorry, I'm messing now. So I love to have either characters or like storylines for all the little bits, because it's not always one person talking, and lots of things are happening. So sometimes I actually make up little operas in my head. Can we go from same place as before, and I want you to have a storyline in your head, an opera, and everyone is very dramatic. No one is kind of on the fence about anything. They're either this way or that way, and if you feel like it, you can play it out in physically.
Yeah.
Lovely, I love it. Now, 33 and 34, for me, these are bars that, like, I'm going, what's going on here? Because it feels a bit weird. We end up with too many bum, 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 bum. And, like, I couldn't quite work out how it worked musically. There's a rule in Baroque music and classical music, rule of 3. And this has helped me in so many things when I'm in a situation like this. It just doesn't make sense musically. The rule of 3 is nothing can happen more than 3 times. So no patterns can happen more than 3 times. If there's more than 3 of anything, what do you think we do?
Vary it.
Yeah, we take, say in this case, say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 in 33, 34. We've got 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 in together, and then what's going to be the third one now is going to go onwards. So I'll show you what that sounds like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'll have a try.
Have a little go.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a good bit on the B because it's the downbeat of the bar. Then basically nothing on the G in the next beat. Then a little bit on the E in the next bar. Nothing on the F sharp at the downbeat of the following bar. And a little bit on the D. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Really, really great. So also have a think about when we want to bring something out, we don't always have to do it, say, with the length of the note. As in, it doesn't have to be ba ba dee da da dee da da. It can just be a little lean. So it can still be they can still all be equal, but we just give more to the first one. Now, this is something that I'm going to leave you to work with yourself, because for me, these 2 bars were really getting to me for a long time. And what I've decided is, have you heard of a hemiola?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so in these 2 bars, Bach is playing with us, playing with the amount of beats in the bar. So instead of having, say, 2 bars with 3 beats in each bar, so 3 and 3, he's now made it into 2 bars and given us 2, 2, 2. So he's given us one very long bar with 3 beats in it. Yeah?
Yeah.
So we call that a hemiola when we've got different to our time signature. And in a way, my way of doing hemiolas is I just don't give anything on the downbeat of the second bar.
Okay.
So we end up having a 1, 2, 3. I wish I could show you my music, but I know it's going to be hard. But I'm gonna say it out loud. So it'll be 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So it means that we don't have any downbeat in 34.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, let's go on from there. From 30, let's go from 35. You can play the bottom C and then onwards. Really lovely. For dances, you didn't do it whenever you did the repeat, so I'm just saying this in general. For dances, we want to make sure we don't always slow down. It's very nice. At the ending, it's totally your choice. But if we had someone dancing to this and we slow down at the end of every cadence, they're going to be, maybe they have jumped up in the air and they're going to come down no matter what. So they can't like slow down, they're coming back down to earth. So when we're playing dances, we very much have to think of this ongoing rhythm, and you've been doing it. And at the end, you don't have to do it in time, it's personal choice. But I thought I'd just mention that because that's something that we end up doing a little bit too often sometimes, just slowing down at every cadence. Again here, where we have this cool bit, this stuff, it means nothing. Yeah, it's just a twiddle. What we want is, but we're kind of cheating if we go, now I'm totally exaggerating, totally, but we're cheating if we give the up bow too long, so we almost make the down bow and the up bow equal. So what we want is, we want to do the down bow, and then the up bow, I'm going to show you. So our down bow, say, is going to use this much bow with the camera, and we've got 3 semi-quavers in it. Our up bow is going to use the same amount of bow with only 1 quaver in it, semi-quaver in it. So that's going to do the job for us. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
So we're going to go like a typewriter, really fast back, and that will give us the kick. So we don't necessarily need to make the tempo of the last semiquaver longer.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to have a go of that? See if you can typewriter your way all the way. Lovely. I really, really liked that. Now, one thing, and I'm terrible for doing it. Especially when I'm playing Bach, I kind of want to go up all the time. Does that make sense? So not just like relax into the viola. I keep wanting to bring everything up. So the way I was practicing this before your masterclass was I was just being all zen and keeping the bow stuck to the string and just doing my string crossings with my elbow, but the bow always connected to the string. And what we can do with that is we start off basically at nil, bringing anything up, and we can make the decision of what we want to bring up. When we start off with taking everything out of the string, we end up putting some stuff back into the string and some stuff out, and we end up with this kind of feeling a little bit unsure. So could we go from just the last line, actually, 39. We'll do it a little slowly, and the bow is going to stick to the string. Do you want to have a go of that?
Yeah.
Great, and now we'll just do it up to speed, and it's so simple. Like, as if it's the easiest thing in the world. I'm always telling myself to forget that it's Bach. Like, I have to do something huge with it. It's just fun. It's just a dance. So yeah, just give a little bit of something. Really nice. And as you can see, we start to feel a little bit more control in our bow hold.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, I'm just going to see how much. On that note, let's just do a tiny bit of the gigue.
Yeah.
So, do you know where the gigue comes from in Europe? Is the Courante from France?
I'm guessing England or Ireland.
Yeah, like our area, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. This is our jig, yeah?
Yeah.
So I love playing this as close to, like, for fun, as close to an Irish jig as possible, and I love to imagine people just enjoying it. You know, it's just for fun. So will you just play me the first few bars of it, because we don't have much time, so I can't listen to the whole thing, but just a couple of bars. Great. So what we're going to do, have you played any traditional music?
A little bit, not too much now.
Yeah, but just for fun, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried as well for fun, and it's tricky on the viola to play trad music because they've got their E string and we don't know which way to go, down an octave or start. But what we can kind of just have, again, the bow stuck to the string. We're not doing all this kind of, do you know when people maybe make fun of classical musicians and they might go doo, 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 doo.
Yeah.
We're in the string. Do you want to have a go?
Yeah.
Great. And this is always a tricky one in Bach. We want to take the bow off, reset it on the lower strings, and do that. But actually what we're allowed to do, I'm going to do it in slow motion, where we can do an up bow. We can do that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and in fast motion, in normal motion, it sounds like...
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Great. We're almost out of time here. So really well done. Lovely playing.
Thanks so much for all your help.
And I really enjoyed it. And it is hard. It's strange and it's hard, and thank you so much. Enjoy Bach. I have to say my biggest thing is knowing that Bach was a human being, and his dances, his music that's secular, so not as religious music, but as secular music, we're meant to have fun with it. And try your best to make it your own. Whatever you want to do with it, make it your own and share it with people.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
My pleasure, and I'll probably see you around.
See you around. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you very much, Lucy. Well done. Some lovely playing there. And Lisa, thank you for all your wonderful insights. It was always very interesting and entertaining to listen to these masterclasses. So thank you. Just to remind folks that we will be having a Q&A session at 4:30. So if you have any questions for Lisa, please do send them in via YouTube, and we will relay them to Lisa and she'll answer them at 4:30. After our next session, we'll be taking a very short break, 3 to 5 minutes. So please don't go away, but we will be taking that short break after. So next up, we have Sarah Hanniffy, and Sarah is a 17-year-old student from County Galway. Sarah's been playing the viola for 12 years and is a student of Andrea Bantiu. She's always been heavily invested in music, and she's been lucky enough to play for 3 national orchestras, in addition to numerous local ensembles. In September, she's going to go into her first year of study at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland in Glasgow for a BMUS in music on the viola. And Sarah is going to be playing the first movement of the Stamitz Viola Concerto in D major. Sarah, enjoy the masterclass, and I'll leave you in the capable hands of Lisa Dowdall.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hiya.
So you're going to play the Stamitz for us?
Yeah.
Why don't we... Let's just start from the beginning, and when I want you to stop, I'll do this. And
Okay.
we'll work through it bit by bit and see how far we can get.
Okay.
Lovely, really nice. Can I ask you, is there any way we can have it so that when you're playing your viola, I can see you playing like this rather than... It would be really handy for me. I think it's just moving your stand or something. So, Stamitz, have you been playing it long?
No. I kind of just started it over quarantine. So it's fairly new.
Great. And how do you find it?
Very virtuosic.
Yes.
There's a lot of jumping around the place on it.
There is, and do you know what? For this masterclass, I got it out again, as I told you earlier, and it surprised me realizing what I find tricky about it now to what I thought was tricky about it when I was about your age.
Yeah.
And one of the things is the tuning when it comes to having open strings and a lot of fourths, fifths, and octaves, so a lot of perfect tunings. The very first chord, it's tricky because we've got an open string, so we need to be in tune with the open string. But what's really tricky is getting the A on our first finger in tune with the D. So what I do, I'll just get my viola. What I do for tuning, it's always vertical. It's never horizontal. Have you heard this before?
I don't think so.
So we learn our tuning by putting our fingers down once and then taking them off and putting them down again. So there's three options to intonation. There's in tune, which is yay, brilliant. There's flat and there's sharp. So when we hear something, if it's in tune, we're great, brilliant. If it's not in tune, it's either flat or sharp. So even though tuning can feel really complicated, when we break it down, it's not. So I was just finding where my A went, and then it's much better, and it rings. Do you know? Do you want to just try that with your open strings, G and D, and just putting your first finger down? Don't try and get it right. Even go for flat and then sharp and then flat and sharp. Just see where it goes and see where you want to put it for intonation.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to say this once and then we're going to move on because tuning's not something that we want to do right now. I call it, for my students, I call it cheating when I see their fingers move around after they've put them down. So that's, in my world, cheating. And what happens with cheating is that if we don't necessarily get it exactly the way we want to, but we kind of go, like we change it slightly, we don't learn. Okay. So when you're practicing intonation and you're practicing the finger going down, the finger stays down until you lift it back up again. You don't get to tweak it.
Okay.
Yeah, brilliant. So let's move on from there. So what I find tricky about this concerto is there seems to be so many ideas all at once.
Yeah.
It's like we just got used to something and now there's a whole other idea, and the way I think of it right now, and I'm always up for changing my mind, but the way I think of it right now is an opera. So the orchestra starts and it's like, it's like the overture for an opera, and all this stuff is happening and it's kind of giving you an idea of what's going to happen. But each time a new motif happens, it's a new character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I also think it's a comic opera rather than a tragedy. I think there's moments of sincerity and like passion and everything else, but actually there's so many humorous moments. Like this bit. I love this bit. It's like a little cartoon. And that's also, and I just did it there, but that's a prime place to rush. And if we have a character for it, like plodding along or something like that, it'll hold us back. So, for the very start, I'll stop talking now. We've got our three, brum, brum, brum. I'd love to feel that a bit more. I know the first note you play is the first note of the concerto, but I need to feel like there's room for the third one to be the really big one.
Okay.
Okay, from the top once more, please. Lovely, really, really So obviously, it being a viola concerto, we want to show off the sound of the viola. So our first chord. I'm terrible. We want the ringing to continue even when we've stopped playing the note. So the way we do that is by practice. So we experiment, really. That's what practicing is. If you, instead of saying, do you know, I'm going to go practice for an hour, if you instead say, I'm going to go experiment on that Stamitz for an hour, you might come out with a load of new things that before you were just doing, and then you find solutions. So let's experiment with just that first chord. So we'll find our fourth, and then we'll start experimenting from the string and from away from the string, and then length, how long we stay on the string and how much bow we use. Let's just do a few chords and tweak things each time.
Okay.
Lovely. Now try starting on the string. And what happens is it's like you're ready to go, and then you just pull. So it's not necessarily a thing where we start with a down, but we start with a pull. So it's on the string and we start with a pull. Do you want to try that? Lovely. I really like that. So I'm going to leave you with those chords to work out how you want to divide them as well. With three notes, we can divide in 2 and 2. But how much we spend on the first 2 and then how much we spend on the second 2 is up to us. We can also go 2, 2, 1. We've got lots of options with these 3 notes. And again, it comes down to personal taste and what you really love. So then, as part of the character, and then this is bigger. Now this can be as big as you can make it. Yeah, you can even get your hair going or whatever. And we've got 2 open strings at the top to really, really, really give us loads. And this is our opening statement, so we can be as big as we want on that third one. Okay. Then when we get to the cadence, coming up to the cadence there with the trill, it's a normal thing for all of us when we're doing a trill to make it too long. Okay. Because we're trying to get more notes into that one crotchet, so we end up making it slower. The only thing for that is to get a metronome on this. And although sometimes, and I'm terrible for it myself, sometimes we're like, oh no, I don't need to get the metronome out, and literally it's just on my phone. But it seems like such a hassle. We can take it out and we can go under tempo if we don't feel like we can play the whole thing in one tempo. We'll go under tempo, so at least we know the relationship between the notes. Then when we get to, I think we might have the same. Can you just quickly show me your music? Do you have it on?
I don't have it in a book. I have it just like print out sort of.
No, that's great. I think we've got the same part. Can you just show
me?
Can you show it to me once more? I just want to make sure.
It's in German.
Yeah, no. So you go to Andrea, don't you?
Yeah.
So me and Andrea both went to the same teacher.
Oh, okay.
So we're both literally using the same part, which is brilliant because I can just talk about lines then to you rather than bars because it doesn't have bar numbers in.
Yeah.
So then, say in the second line, 1, 2, 3, third bar, where we've got the. Do you see that bit?
Yeah.
So really, all we want to hear, we want that really juicy A sharp B.
Okay.
But we have those pesky double stops that seem to make us not want to really play musically. So what we end up doing, well, this is what I end up doing, is trying really, really hard. Trying hard with my vibrato and going, like, I'm going to make this musical. mean trying really hard physically, but giving a good bit of vibrato. And my intention is like, no, I'm not going to let these double stops stop me from making this gorgeous A sharp B as beautiful as I possibly can.
Okay.
Do you want to just try from there? Really nice. A technical thing, we just want to practice the third, and then we'll practice the shift of the A up to the A sharp. Then when we put our B down, we can try it with our F sharp, because that's going to be a perfect fourth, and then we put our fourth finger right beside our third. So we know where all our fingers are actually going. Yep. Really nice. So when I'm practicing pieces, 95% of it I don't necessarily need to practice them more than when I understand them, because it's not new material to me. You know, we play so many scales and arpeggios, and this is full of scales and arpeggios. So there's probably in this first movement about 10 things that you need to spend time on technically, so that you can put it back in and play it all at the same technical ease.
Yeah.
And you can do it in a few ways. You can have a practice part, as it were, and just circle the bits that you want to practice first when you take out your viola, and just spend 5 minutes on these couple of bars and work out different ways to practice them. So take them apart, do left hand on its own, right hand on its own. I call it practicing in slow motion, and in my head I'm thinking of like in a football match when there's a goal and they're watching everything happening, and that's my slow motion. So everything is moving as if there's a camera that is taken away any speed. So then at the end of that, which is lovely, this is a nothing, yeah? So we can end up by accident giving it a... We can give it too much. But after the beautiful... yeah, it can just be a finishing off.
Fade away too, yeah.
Yeah, well, I faded off too much there. For a concerto, we always want to be heard, so I definitely faded off too much there. But yeah, coming away from it, there's nothing new there that we want to bring out. We've had it all in the A sharp. So let's do the same place, but get rid of the double stops and just play it really musically for me. Nice. And then when we get to this bit, which is the kind of a little character, maybe heading down to the shops to buy milk or something. And we've got this little bottle, which is just whatever, and then we've got bum, 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 bum. And then we basically repeat that again. Do you want to have a go and, yeah, think of a character in your head and what he's out and about for the day? What's he doing?
I don't know, I'm just walking, I suppose.
Nice. I'm not going to get you to play that bit again. Every violist is like, why did you have to? But I'll just tell you how I do it, because it might help. So, all during that during that bit, just have the idea of this person like going out for a walk, getting their shopping. You can come up with a whole storyline that's really, really funny, because when there's something funny, you will be relaxed. And you'll probably be smiling. And can we just try something? Can you frown for me, please? Like, give me a really good frown. Like, look angry for me. Try and breathe in while you're frowning. Now smile for me. And breathe in.
It's easier.
It's way easier. So when we're feeling a bit of tension and we're coming up to this bit, bong, bong, dong, dong, we're going to start tensing up a bit and we're going to find it harder to move.
Okay.
So if we're nice and relaxed, and smiling is the easiest way to relax ourselves. It's like this kind of link that we just go, ah. So the bars beforehand, you make up a little funny story of whatever you want, and it means like nothing, you know, it's ridiculous. And then when we get to, we're going to say fourth line, because we're on the same part, which is so handy. Then I just go up a semitone with my second finger. My first finger goes right beside it for the first. I have my fourth. Now, my hand position is like this. My 1 and 2 are beside each other with a gap between 3 and 4. I'm not going to even try right now, but what we want to do is we want to practice with the left hand going up in the arpeggio. And what I find most tricky is not going up by a third, but going up for the last fourth. And I never go far enough.
Yeah.
Yeah? So experiment with going too far. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like see how high you can go. Really, really great. So then let's move on to the... Really lovely. So this is such a simple little thing. We've got this tune. Then we repeat that. Then a new thing. And we repeat that. So we've got really 2 bars, but we're repeating them. So the age-old never say anything the same twice. We, again, for me with this, I come up with a little story in my head. So this is a totally different character than... Here, I think maybe right now in my head, I'm thinking of a very nice, sweet girl. So that's the statement. And then the next time I play it, she might be unsure of something. So then when I go on to the next bit, she's discovering. She's saying, is this okay? And then for the next time that I play the B part, and for the last part, she's really confident.
Okay.
Yeah? And you can have so much fun with these stories, by the way, and no one ever has to know what your stories are, so you can have little jokes with yourself about what's actually going on. So have a go from the kind of drone. Really, really nice. One little thing that, again, it's always a matter of taste. We've got our drone. And we've got our... We can actually do that without stopping the bow. We can keep the bow moving. And what we're doing is we're changing our elbow so that our bow is only playing on the G string, and then it goes back to the D string. So do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really nice. Yeah. So it means that we don't have to lose the drone totally just to give articulation in the right hand. Brilliant. Now, the next bit is so sweet. It's just, I mean, we should just like Dolce on it, and it's like warm and fuzzies. Do you want to just play from, you know where we're talking about?
Yeah.
Really lovely. So if before we had like a sweet young girl or something, this is like the soprano coming in. And I just had an idea there. I'm going to share it with you. I just had an idea of, do you know the really old Snow White Disney movie?
Yeah.
And Snow White's voice is just really, really high, and it's just so beautiful and so lovely. I just thought there maybe we could have a... like just something just so like happy and sweet. Do you want to? Yeah. Do you want to try? I would. There's something about it. I think when you've got semi-quavers, you see them maybe of like ticka 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 rather than diddle 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 dum. Do you know, like have music and melody throughout the semi-quavers?
Yeah.
Really lovely. So we talked before about it being a virtuosic concerto. And some things are virtuosic, but we don't necessarily always have to make them sound virtuosic.
Okay.
So we can have these runs and they can be very much part of the flow rather than fast. And I'd love for you to think about where you want to have that showing off and when you want to bring people in and, you know, tell them a secret or tell them something that's not for everybody to hear.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, is there any part of this that you would like to do before we finish the masterclass?
Maybe towards the start of the second page, where it has the more lyrical stuff in it.
I love this bit so much. Okay, so I'd love to see what your fingering is, because I'm pretty sure it'll be the same as mine. Let's have a look.
What I did for the first chord was just in first position, and
okay.
I don't have the 1, 2, 4 on it.
Okay, we'll go with that. So basically, it changes. So I'm sure you know yourself, the further up the fingerboard we go, the darker the sound.
Okay, yeah.
The closer to the finger, closer to the nut we are, the brighter the sound. It's because of the string length. The longer string length we have, the brighter the sound, the more the sound. And as viola players, because we're already dealing with an instrument that maybe doesn't travel as well as other string instruments, we're always trying to work out the balance between having like a covered dark tone that we really like under the ear, but still getting it out so that the audience can hear it. In this case, using the open string, we've got a nice ringing sound. So enjoy that ringing sound.
Okay.
The other fingering, which I'm sure you will learn, gives much more of a covered, mysterious. So yeah, just so you know why there's probably that fingering in.
All right.
Lovely, really, really nice. So here we do have a triple stop. But we don't have to play it. We could just go. We could give it
And separate.
yeah, more of a grace note, that it feels like a grace note. We can still have more than one note playing at one time, but we don't necessarily have to do 2 and 2. We can be a little bit, we can make more decisions about it. At the start we want to be big, and here we're, you know, it's piano and we're a little bit quieter, so maybe not as big a triple stop. So yeah, do you want to once more? And then also I'd love for you to bring out when there's a little bit of tension. So there's a few notes here that cause the tension. Do you know which notes they are just by looking at it?
The G sharp and the D sharp.
Yeah. If you're ever wondering and you're playing something that's like much older music, so everything is usually within the key that it's written, if you're looking for the notes that are causing tension, it's usually the accidentals.
Okay.
So if you're sight reading something, you can plan to
Lean
maybe
on
go
them.
towards the accidentals to bring them out a little bit more, and then after bringing out the tension, then we not have a nice release. Okay,
Okay.
so once more.
Was it kind of more of
Do you know, I'm going to leave that up to you to have fun with. And there really is no wrong, right answer. It's all personal taste. And can I just say as well, even if you played it the way I would want to play it, unless you really enjoy it, it's not going to have the same effect.
Okay.
So you do what you really, really want to do.
All right.
Really, really nice. So just in general, with classical music, we're going to do a trill starting on the upper note. So with just yeah. What I love about this is that's a totally different scene, you know?
Yeah.
It's like something happened over one side of the stage with lots and lots of lights, and now we're just drawn to a candle light at the other side of the stage, and we're all pulled into it. Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I like doing the start of this page with using an open string, because we have the bright and then we can really have the covered.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, let's go from the covered bit, so last bar of the first line. Really lovely. So I feel like you enjoy this bit too much.
Probably.
You've got too many things you want to tell, like to show us.
Okay.
And bear in mind, you're going to be playing this piece for a very long time. Yeah, viola players, our Stamitz and our Hofmeister, they're always around. Yeah, so you have to make decisions each time. What do I want to bring out here? Same way as when we speak, we might bring one word out in a sentence. We don't bring every word out in the. Do you see?
I got you. Yeah.
Personally, I love that G sharp. And then the relationship between the A sharp and the B. And then we've released. Yeah? So just maybe just picking out of that whole thing there 4 notes that you want everybody to remember at the end of the concert.
Probably.
You don't have to pick them right now. I'm going to pick that with you. But yeah, let's just play from that E once more. And yeah, like save what you're going to give out to people. Like be like.
Okay.
Really, really nice. Do you see in the what line are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth line, sorry, the third line. Towards the end of the third line, we have we've got a lot of this many of those G sharps, A's, B's
Okay.
that we've had it from before. Every time we have it again, it doesn't need to come out at all.
Okay.
So whenever there's a repetition, we've heard it before, it can just be filler. Just so that it takes away some of the stuff, so you can really show the few notes and the few relationships between the few intervals that you really, really enjoy. So then the next part, the really cool bit, this is again a place to have a little storyline.
Okay.
How are you? Do you feel comfortable with it yet? Because you haven't been playing it.
I'm still kind of. I find it hard to keep the piano in when you're doing such fast string crossings for that part.
Yeah.
But then when it goes back to the semiquavers, I kind of do. At the end of the first bar, I'll do a small swell and then bring it back again towards the end, and then have a kind of darker tone for the other ones.
I love it. That's brilliant. So if we think about it, that's all our bow arm is doing.
Okay.
So it's funny because it's kind of like that thing. Do you know when people say fast and they also think loud and fast, slow and quiet?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It's the same with stuff like this. We're thinking it's fast, so it needs to be loud, whereas actually it's the left hand. Actually, nothing's really moving. The left hand is moving a tiny bit because we've got our fingers stuck down, and the right hand is just going like this. So it doesn't. If we just take our brain out of this kind of old school loud, fast, slow, quiet, and practice each arm separately. So can we just start with the bow? Yeah. So then what we're going to do is we don't care about the individual notes. We're going for the overall effect of the kind of the flowing between them.
All right.
Great, and then we'll just do this. Easy, brilliant. So just put your fingers down where they need to go, and then just do the bow as you did just before. Okay, so to make it a little bit simpler at the start, we're not going to change our left hand. So we're just going to work on like the first two beats. And we're going to work on our bow being feeling as easy as it does when it's all open strings.
Okay.
Because really nothing's happening. Our fingers are staying down, and it's just our bow that's going down bow over 3 strings, and then an up bow on the top string, and then a down bow on the D string, and then it's the same movement whether the fingers are down or not.
Okay.
So. Lovely. And then when you're ready, just put down it's just your 4th finger goes down now. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah? And
yeah.
There's nothing. This is actually one of those places that we practice the left hand by itself with long notes. Make sure it's in tune, and we do the finger up and down to make sure we're in tune. There's no cheating going on, as I call it. And we do the left hand just so easy. Yeah, it is really, really, really easy. We add them together, and it's actually easier to play it at tempo than it is to practice slowly and speed it up.
Okay.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, and look, I have to say it's always great to practice everything at a slow tempo. But some things are trickier at a slow tempo, and it's good to just acknowledge that. Yeah. I think we're close. Is that? Yes, we're close to the end. Do you have any other questions about the last? Well, any of the first movement of the Stamitz you'd like to ask me?
Kind of, for where there's the really drastic jumps across, where there is like open strings on the C string and then open treble clef and things.
Oh, are you talking about the?
Yeah, kind of just any of those jumps in general.
Yeah.
For would you kind of let the lower one ring out, and then kind of what way would you connect the two of them together?
Ah, yes. So I love, yes, this is a really, really good question. So do you know when we have a low note and it's going to a high note and we've got a shift?
Yeah.
The note before the shift needs to be as long as possible.
Okay.
So that's the important note, and then we release to the top note. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's bum, bum. It's the exact same way as we'd sing it.
Okay.
If we'd sing it, we'd sing the lower note more, and for a slightly longer. I almost like to play chicken to see how long I can stay on the lower note before I really have to go up high. And then here, some of them, they are open strings, so we can have our hands here, and we can play the open string and leave it ring while we just string cross to the higher.
Okay.
I would suggest, again, the slow motion practice for that, and just taking out all the tricky bits and just leaving yourself with the simplest.
And then just one last thing, the triplet arpeggio up at the end of the first page. For the bounce down again, would you leave that as a long note again? Because you're jumping back up again.
Sorry, so you're talking about the da-da-da-da-da. Oh no, sorry. I'm in the wrong spot.
That's
Yeah.
You kind of just.
Yes. So this is just. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yes, with the down bow there. I'm not a huge fan of that down bow, but yeah, it could be. So you kind of give it a longer E, a lower E, and then hopefully it will ring a little bit so that you have time to get to the higher E.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I think that's
time. Is it?
A break now. Thank you so much. Again, it's not the easiest thing, and I really, really, really appreciate you coming and being so open. And definitely there will be more time for questions if you have anything else.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Lisa. And yes, Lisa, you're right. We're going to take a very short break now. So we will see everybody back, please, for our final participant, who is Charlotte von Kietzell. And we will be back in about 5 minutes. And I'd just like to remind you, before we do go, that we will be having a Q&A session at 4:30 p.m. So please do submit your questions via YouTube, and we will relay them to Lisa. Thank you, and we will see you very, very shortly. Hello, everybody, and you're very welcome back to our Viola Masterclass this afternoon. We have one more participant this afternoon, and her name is Charlotte von Kietzell. Charlotte, you're very, very welcome, and we hope you enjoy the session. Charlotte is 16 years old and from County Meath, and she's been playing the viola for 10 years, currently studying also with Andrea Bansu at TU Dublin Conservatory of Music. Charlotte considers herself very lucky to be a member of the National Youth Orchestra of Ireland and the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra Young. She also plays alongside 3 other members of the National Youth Orchestra of Ireland in their quartet, the Ivy. And Charlotte is going to play the prelude from Bach Cello Suite No. 2 in D minor. So Charlotte, Lisa, I'll leave you to it.
Thank you, Nigel. Hi, Charlotte. So you're going to do a performance of the prelude now for us?
Yeah.
Great, whenever you're ready. I forgot to unmute myself. I'm so sorry. Absolutely beautiful. I was transported. Thank you so much. I'm just going to get my viola, one sec. I really, really enjoyed all the little moments you have. They were absolutely gorgeous. So what I want to do is to maybe help you explore them a little bit more and develop these ideas, because it all sounds absolutely gorgeous. So let's just start from the very beginning. Yeah, let's just play the first bar. I want to just concentrate on the first bar for the moment. Lovely. So with the first, I'm going to go a little bit into information right now, because it is relevant. So with the suites, we have 5 dances, and at the start we have a prelude. So a prelude is not a dance. Do you have any idea, or do you have do you know what you think it is? What is a prelude?
I'd say like an opening or like an introduction.
Yeah, it is definitely an introduction and an opening to the suite in D minor. I personally love thinking about these preludes as almost a written out improvisation by Bach in the key of D minor, like a fantasy in D minor. So as you can see, we don't have a tempo marking. So there's nothing from stopping us from playing like, yeah, Bach has left it totally up to us. Not that I would want to play it like that, but he's left it totally up to us, and he hasn't given us any pianos or fortes, or he's just given us the notes, and we get to decide what we want to do with that. So this being in D minor and the very start of the whole suite, the first 3 notes, what are the first 3 notes?
The chord, the D minor.
Yeah. So he's literally saying, D minor. So we now know what we're going to hear a fantasy in. With the first 3 notes, the first note is pretty important because it tells us we're in D. The second note is also pretty important because it tells us we're in D minor. The third note doesn't give us any new information. So we maybe want to put more on the first 2 notes and the relationship between those 2 notes, and then relax on the A and just let it float.
Okay.
Lovely. Now I'm going to show you something that I just think is so cool. So the first note of the first bar is D. The first note of the second bar is C sharp. And then when we go to bar 5, we've got a B flat. Then bar 7, an A. Sorry. Yeah, and then bar 9, a G, sorry. And then bar 13, an F. So if we play them, it's... So we actually have the scale going down. But he doesn't give us each bar a new scale, a new note of the scale. He gives us the first bar, and then the second bar gives us a note of the scale. That makes us wait 3 bars until we get the B flat at bar 5. Makes us wait 2 bars for the A. Makes us wait 2 bars for the G. So now we're expecting in 2 bars. In bar 11, we're going to get an F. We're expecting that. But instead, we get something like an A. So we maybe are going up a little bit. It's not until bar 13 that we get the F, and then we're in the dominant. Yeah? So,
Yeah.
And I know I'm just muddling all the stuff, but I just wanted you to hear what this kind of like structure could sound like, without giving special importance to anything other than showing this line and then showing the tension as we're waiting for the next note.
Okay.
Yeah? Do you want to go from the beginning once more and see if you can keep us held on for the bars when we're not going to change a note? I loved it. And then we've got a real arrival there, and we think we're now in major, but we're not in major for long. So that was, I really, really, really enjoyed that. I would even, because and I love how you're playing, you're using a little bit of vibrato when you feel like it needs that encouragement, which I really like. I would say maybe to have just giving a little bit more to the important notes that we want to show. Sometimes our ear will pick up on them, but we have to give a little bit of help to the listener, because even though we know the piece so well, the listener might not know it as well, and we have to put up signposts like this is important and this is important, like subtly, but we have to give them a little bit of help as to what we want to point out so that they can come on the journey with us. What I would do is in the second bar, like give it a lean, and then in the fifth bar, and each one of these notes can have a different tone. It's almost like each note of the scale has a different character, has a different agenda. So some of them are happy and relaxed, and some of them are like creating some tension for us to hang on to. Let's go on from 13, because I do want to get to the very dramatic and passionate almost end bit, definitely. But let's go from 13, and I'll wave my arms if I want you to stop. Beautiful. So at 13, when we get the theme back, but it's a major, it's the same as before. It's the first note is important because it's telling us we're in F. The second note is really important because it's telling us we're in major, but the third note is not giving us new information. So we can go. And then this F sharp is huge. We're really not expecting that. So yeah, once more from 13. Great. Really, really lovely. And it's the same like I was telling the other guys. Sometimes we love so much about the music that we want to show everything. But if we show everything, it all gets lost. So here, The F sharp I really, really want to show. Then I'm going to just let everything just play itself. But now I want to show that D because I've come from the C before. So I'm showing everything's coming up a step. And now the G sharp is even more dramatic than the F sharp was previous. And then I'm letting everything just play itself. Yeah, so we can in a way drive, like, let stuff just happen, but say, oh, and this bit's cool. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so, once more from 13. Absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And the way you give the step motion, for me, it's just the right amount. And so I'm not sure if there's going to be more afterwards because it already feels enough. And then you do it again and it's just the right amount of extra. I love it. So then when we get to 21, this is a bit tricky, like I was talking about before in the Courante, where it feels like there's too many of these patterns to make sense. Because we can end up going... We can feel like we're digging ourselves into a hole that we'll never get out of.
Yeah.
So what we do here is we, again, like I said before, instead of making them each small cell by themselves, we group two into a cell together. So the first cell would be... Next cell. And then last cell. Which goes onwards. Yeah? So, yeah, let's go from 21. Lovely. So then in 23, we've got a G sharp, which is brilliant. Great. I love that G sharp. But then when the G sharp comes again at the end of that bar, it's no longer important because we've already heard it. So we've got from the bar before, from 22. Yeah? We don't want to hear that G sharp again in the same way. We want it to now be part of the gang of those notes. It's now been accepted. So let's go from 21 once more, please. Okay, beautiful. So again, I think you might have heard when I said about the rule of three. If we've got any more than three of something, just us as human beings, I guess, we start losing interest. Maybe that's it. But in music, it means that if we've got more than three of something, we want to put them into other groupings, so we won't have more than three, is where it comes to. So at 24, 25, 26. That's one. Now the second one. Now the third one. Now the fourth one. So we've got four there. So what we want to try and do then is maybe put them two and two. So from bar 26, So we could do a statement and an echo, and then the next one is a statement and then an echo, which then leads on. Do you want to try that from 26 or wherever it's comfortable for you?
That.
Yeah, great. Really nice. Do you know what? Experiment with it, because that's just my idea today, right now. I actually have almost no markings on my part because I change my mind so often that I don't want to have anything set in stone. But that's myself, my own personal, having played it for so many years. I do change my mind quite often about how I'm going to group those. So I would experiment with the idea of having them in groups of 2, or what else could we do? Or you could make an exception for it and make it so dramatic that no one is ever going to stop paying attention.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's try that. Let's go from 26 and like maybe at the start be so silvery, and the listener, imagine everybody at home having to go like this to here, and then we can go up in steps. Lovely. I love it. Yes, 100%. I love it. So then when we get to that C sharp in 30, it's like, right, I got there. And it's such an enjoyable C sharp to play. But the next time we play C sharp in that bar, it's not a thing. So because there's so much going on in this prelude, we only want to highlight the important things. And so if we've got a C sharp again, it's like, oh no, it's now part of the notes. It's all good. So we've got our kind of... So the next time we play it, it's actually part of the language we're using now. It's not so shocking. So let's just go from 30. Play the C sharp really nice and big, and then just blend it in the next time it comes. Really gorgeous. So from 30 until we get to 40, so we've got 10 bars there roughly. That's quite a long train that we want people to stay invested in, and we want them so that when we get to 40, there's a release there that everybody's been dying for. Yeah? I'm just going to have a little noodle. Yeah, so I think around which you did, around 33, when we've got that C sharp there to the B, that's when we're going to be at our lowest. And then we're going to build it up. Do you know when you go to like roller coasters?
Mm-hmm.
And the build up before you go on, what are they called again? Do you know the rides that just go but it's the build up before that that's the scary bit. And for me, the build up is so scary because it just keeps moving and keeps moving and keeps moving, and we don't know when the drop is going to happen. And here, from 33, now we've got a little bit more. A little bit more now. But we don't give it away yet. And here is when we let loose. So we can actually, if we don't give them what they're looking for in, say, bar 36, they're going to stay with us all the way on the journey to 40.
Okay.
Is this making sense?
Yeah, I'm just wondering then what to do later on, because it stays so dramatic for so long.
Oh, we go even bigger.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree, and this is one of the choices. It's like, where is the bit? Yes, I 100% agree with you. My general thing is go even bigger afterwards. But let's go from 30, and until we get to 40, don't give away the release. Yeah, keep the tension the whole way through. Really great. I loved it. You really wanted to, in bar 36, give it the release, but you kept with the tension, which meant that when we got to 40, it felt like, but exactly what you said there, we're not finished at 40. We have, and now we're still going. It's one of those things where Bach has written in, because we started at the lowest on the C sharp in bar 40, and then we're on the G sharp in 42, so he's actually brought us up a fifth, so already pitch-wise it's going to be more exciting. And then we keep ramping it up pitch-wise, but we can also start adding in a little bit of rubato to show the conflict between the notes. So let's go from 40, and actually for fun, can we do it as if it's not dramatic at all? So try and just play it like it's something normal, really normal. Really nice. So even trying to play it normal, it's impossible. Yeah. Like, it's just like, oh my god. And that's what I mean. It just keeps getting bigger. So even if we've given not quite everything at bar 40, we're going to find something else in the bag for 42. And we're going to keep finding it. Like, by the time you actually get to our chord in bar 48, like, you can just be so exhausted there. And even though it's a few seconds of actual playing, it's so turbulent. You give it everything you have.
Okay.
Yeah? So in 40, we've got. Here we can relax a little bit because the instrument, how Bach has written it, the instrument is actually taking over a lot of the drama for us. So we can be a little bit more relaxed here. And now we want to start adding in every bit of guts and grit, everything we have. And you can go totally over the top there if you want, if you feel it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go from 40. Really lovely. So I'm gonna tell you something that it might be controversial, I don't know, but we don't necessarily always have to make a beautiful sound on our instrument. So I know it sounds ridiculous, but when we think about it, music is part of how we communicate, and sometimes the world, what we communicate, isn't all nice and beautiful, and sometimes a little bit of grit can really get your point across. And then by contrast, when we come back in 49 after the pause, that little floaty, beautiful, it's so we've got, like, it doesn't necessarily always have to sound comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And it does open the palette up a bit more. You will, I'm sure, know what's too far. And at the start, just try it out, experiment like you're using spices, like, you know, you try a little bit of salt, and if you're happy with that, you stick with that. But I would just like to put that out there to see, especially with something like this, because there's so much pain involved in the music. And to say it all so beautifully, it seems a pity not to just give a little bit, I call it a little bit of dirt, a little bit of grit, just to really show the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you want to try it? And you're totally free to go however far you want between drama, and if you want to put some dirt in it, and if you want to break a string while you're doing it, you can do whatever you like.
Okay.
Okay. Really beautiful, really gorgeous. And the one thing I would say is that we don't get a release until the chord. I felt like you released a bit in bar 47. So in 46 we've got. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so out of tune. Like, that's still hectic, yeah? I felt there was a little bit of a, like you were coming away from the conflict. But again, it's all personal choice. If you feel that the conflict has ended before we get to the chord, then you're going to portray that much better than if you're just doing what someone else told you to do. So I'd explore different options. Then the next bit, which you played so beautifully, It's hard because we quite often build up so much adrenaline in the part beforehand that it's actually hard to do our triple stop and then go. The best thing I can say, even if you have nerves, adrenaline, you know, you're really shaking from before, what I would do is I would start on the string and just play simply. Play like it's already been playing. So there's no start. It's almost like we can only hear it now. So do you want to start, just play the chord in bar 48 and then 49, start on the string and just play it as simply as you possibly can. Gorgeous. So one thing I forgot to mention, which I find really helpful, bar 49, as I said, isn't the start. It's like it's already been going on, but it's like we're going into 50. So 50 is the important bar. Before I was talking about the hierarchy of beats and the hierarchy of bars, say 49 is bar 4. And now we're in bar 1 again. So that might make things feel a little bit more natural. Then at the very end, because I'm afraid we're running out of time now, it's been such a pleasure, thank you so much. At the very end, try and keep your bow on the strings and just turn the bow onto the other strings. So we've got so the bow is always playing and always moving.
Okay.
Really lovely. And then you know that Bach wrote these also for lute, which is like a guitar, so no bow. So we can actually play around with how would we pluck them, which then tells us how would we bow them. Does that make sense? So we might not necessarily always go 2 and 2. We might not go. Really lovely. But you can have a mess yourself, pretend you're playing a lute, whatever. But just so you make your decisions not based on technique or thinking, oh, I have to play 2 and 2, but actually, how do I hear it? And then finally, the penultimate bar, that can be as long as you can bear. So the longer the second last bar is, before you get to the final chord, that's what everybody is waiting, and it just gives everyone that beautiful place in limbo before the end of the piece, which, as we both know, it takes you through such an incredible journey that at the end everybody has to sigh. So that second last bar gives everyone that chance to just really enjoy it for every last second they get. And yes, thank you so much. Do you have any questions?
No, that's all.
Oh, brilliant. Really enjoyed that. I think there's going to be a Q&A now. Congratulations and really well done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Charlotte, and thank you, Lisa, for such great insight into all 3 pieces and working so well with our participants. So thank you very much for conducting the masterclass this afternoon. So we will have a short question and answer session. So just I think with our participants. So obviously you've been, if not on camera, you've all been in the background listening. So perhaps if we go in the order of playing, Lucy, is there anything that's come up during the masterclass or anything else that you'd like to address or ask Lisa at this point?
I was just going to ask Lisa, as a musician who plays like music across a large range of genres from Baroque to contemporary, I was just wondering, like, if you had any advice or thoughts for students who are looking to explore a wider repertoire that's outside their comfort zones.
I love that. That's exactly, yeah, so I love playing lots of different types of music because I like being out of my comfort zone. I love the challenge and I love what I learn when I don't feel safe, which is probably like a little bit crazy, but I really enjoy it. My advice is, first of all, say yes to pretty much everything. So if someone says, "Oh, I'm writing a piece for viola, will you play it for me?" You go, "Yes," and you offer to workshop it. And if someone says they're starting an ensemble, or you see a course or something like that, say yes. And the thing is right now you are exploring, so you don't know necessarily. I don't know everything that's out there at all, but you don't know what's out there that you really, really, truly love. And I would strongly advise you to go try as many things as possible. Say yes to whatever interests you, or anything that you think may interest you. Then do your own research. So we're so lucky with having the internet, um, and there's so many resources on the internet. Google is your friend. Put in stuff that you're interested in and mishmash of words, including viola, and see what comes up. Follow people who you're interested in, like if there's viola players that, or just musicians in general. We're all playing music. We happen to play the viola, and we happen today to have worked on Baroque classical music, but music is music, instruments are instruments. So if there's a musician you like, follow them, see what they do, listen to their music, see if you can get into that yourself, or what your version of that would be. It's kind of more opening it up and saying there are no rules, and seeing what you can do with that. Then that's my advice. There's no one way of doing things. It's just try it all.
Thank you, Lisa. And just moving to our second participant, Sarah, is there something that you would like to ask Lisa?
Maybe with regards to like if you're learning new pieces and things like that, after you learn the notes and get your bearings with them, when you're trying to put your own kind of spin on it and know which phrasings to do and everything, how do you know when you kind of stick with the general, like what the general people would do over a certain phrase, or whether you should add in your own kind of motif to it?
So this is really down to a matter of taste, and with taste, it's funny because obviously everyone has their own taste, and no one's taste is necessarily wrong, but we know especially in classical music, maybe something's not done very often that way. When it comes to me playing, I always come back to how would I sing it. If my actual voice was an instrument that could make any sound, any noise, how would it come out? Or the other thing to do is to sit down with your score and to imagine it being played in the most beautiful way possible. And for me anyway, that's how I find what I really want to do with something. Because I can't imagine something more beautiful than the way I've just heard it, and I want to share that. Yes, when it comes to taste, I'm a little bit cheeky, and sometimes I do things just because I find it funny to annoy people sometimes. And sometimes I just think it's more interesting to do something that's different. But when it actually comes, I think what you're asking about is taste and finding your own voice and what you believe in. I would sing loads, sing your music so much, listen to loads of recordings, even people that, you know, in other recordings you didn't like what they did, just to see what they do so that you have an opinion. Do I like that or do I not? Read
Okay.
the score and imagine. Like, imagination is basically a musician's best friend. Just really, really enjoy your imagination.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Charlotte, have you anything for Lisa?
I was going to ask, how did you know that you wanted to pursue music as a career? Like, how did you know that, you know, you couldn't just do it as a hobby? It had to be your life.
Oh, that's tough, and it's funny because I'm doing this this masterclass from my parents' home, which is where I grew up. So it's like, wow, I'm actually transported back to those days. My story was a bit funny. I say funny. Everybody's story is totally unique. Um, so I think I was 14 when I first tried the viola, and I liked it. So I wanted to play it, and my parents agreed to let me go and study the viola. I had been playing the violin for a long time before that, but it hadn't clicked with me. And then within a few months of playing the viola, I just decided that's it. I'm going to be a viola player. And my poor parents were like, "Ew, really?" I think part of the reason why I knew I wanted to play the viola was because for the first time I was an artist. I did a lot of art. But for the first time with music, not only could I be creative, but I could also be creative really and truly with friends. And for me, I hadn't experienced anything else apart from playing in ensembles on viola that I could get that kind of fulfillment. And I didn't want to just do it as a hobby because I knew it was possible to do it as a profession. And I think it wasn't really a decision I made and even thought about. I just went, that's what I'm doing. And I was young enough and foolish enough not to really think, is this exactly what I want? But I'm delighted I have. But I can't imagine anything else that I would get so much from, like I do in playing in groups with music. So that's my answer. I don't know if that helps. Everybody's so different.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lucy, Sarah, and Charlotte. It's been a pleasure having you here, and we look forward to hearing a lot more from you in the future, and particularly to welcome you back to the National Concert Hall. So thank you. Lisa, we have a question in from a member of the public, and that is, what do you do when you're preparing to teach a particular piece?
That's a funny one. I have a lot of things involved when I'm teaching a person or when I'm teaching a piece, and sometimes they go together. First of all, most of the music I'll already know, and I've already had lessons on myself in the past, and I've already worked on by myself. I'll generally sit down and work it out again in today's, how I am today. So it might not be a piece that I've played since I was a student myself, if it's a piece I don't normally teach. But I'll work out how I play today, and I think what would be of most benefit to the student. So you can't necessarily say everything or do everything in a lesson, but just to pick maybe 3 things that would be of most benefit to the student, and that you know that you can show and teach clearly, and hopefully make their lives a little bit easier in learning that piece. That's what teaching is. It's like, here, take what I spent ages learning, and hopefully I can give it to you in quicker time.
Okay, I think we're really kind of out of time on this. So Lisa Dowdall, it has been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for such a wonderful masterclass this afternoon. And equally, we look forward to when we can do it in person and have another class in the National Concert Hall when we can reopen. I'd like to thank everybody who's tuned in, and I'd like to thank all of the team in the background. There's a lot of work goes into presenting these online events, and thank you to them. Please do join us next week, next Thursday, for the 3rd in our masterclass series, and this is a French horn with Cormac O'Halon. And so we look forward to seeing you again. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and thank you very much.